like I try to stay in good shape year round, but getting that extra level of conditioning,
That's
it's
the
like I want to give myself plenty of time, but I even tell my clients, so you give yourself too much time, you end up not doing it, or you kind of like you push it off because something comes up or whatever. So it's definitely one of those things you want to lock in and commit to. I would love to do the next show here.
yeah.
So if I lived down the street from Iron Hawaiian, I'd be extra
You'd be
motivated
in heaven.
and it's where all the bodybuilders train, in
Yeah.
here. So it's definitely it's good to come in here at least once a week.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Paradise Pump. And today we have a special guest,
Finally.
my boy Garrett over here.
Let's go.
What's your Instagram and all
So
that?
it's Garrett_Coelho. Yeah.
All right.
So
Yeah.
or no, Garrett.Coelho. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No underscore. Just
Okay.
Garrett.Coelho.
We'll
Yeah.
definitely put that up. But
Yeah. Cool.
yeah. So I know I met you. Man, what was that like?
Like 7, 8 years
About
ago.
7, 8 years.
Yeah. It's probably we came out for a dark sport photo shoot.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years after that, we moved out here.
That's right.
So yeah, I went to college out here. My dad's from Big Island, so I've always wanted to live out here. I've always kind of been the dream to kind of bring the family back because we have a lot of family there still, a lot of family on Oahu. But yeah, I love it out here. So
Yeah.
you can't beat the weather. It's
You
great.
live on the North Shore, right?
Yeah, on the North Shore. Yeah, I actually went to college up there, so that's kind of where I initially moved back 2010 or something like that, and then spent some time out there. Started getting into bodybuilding a little bit then, but my whole life kind of have been into it. It's always been a passion of mine, lifting and training. So
Okay, like what inspired you though? Like what
uh,
do you think it was?
I think it was my dad. He competed back in like the 70s, so
Oh,
I'd always
really?
see all the old magazines and so I want to pick
That's
your brain
cool.
on some of the stuff. I mean, not that you're not my dad's age,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm just saying, like
I'm not
you're
far
that,
from it.
You're pretty old
but
though.
you're that
Thanks,
generation
man.
after that,
Yeah,
which I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I probably saw you in magazines back when I was
Yeah, in the
younger
90s
in
I was
the
in there, yeah.
90s for sure.
Yeah, as an
So
amateur, you were in a lot of
Yeah,
magazines
I
before.
did
yeah,
get in.
Yeah, you do.
yeah, way before Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot
Yes.
cooler to be in a magazine, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, because so you were competing, like you obviously pro, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like how did that whole journey happen?
Yeah. So I grew up always being into bodybuilding, but always saw the open guys, and I was really small. I was a wrestler in high school, college. I never really like got into it that much when I was younger because I couldn't get big. I had to stay,
Oh yeah,
150, 160, whatever.
right.
And then when I graduated college, I heard about men's physique. I was like, oh, it kind of sounds cool. That'd be fun. And so I got into that after I moved away from Hawaii and started training a lot because I couldn't surf anymore. I was living in Utah actually,
Mm,
and I had a buddy who was a pro, and I was kind of like, what do you do? How do you eat? How do you train? All that stuff, and just kind of picked his brain. And I ended up turning pro in just 3 shows, so it's pretty
really?
quick. Yeah, really quick.
What show was it
And
that you turned pro at?
I did the Junior USA's.
Oh,
So
okay.
That's a tough one too, because it's only one person who
yeah,
wins
yeah, you have
overall.
to win. Yeah, overall,
Yeah.
get your pro
Oh,
card.
congratulations.
Yeah, I had done the Miami Nationals, and that one I got smoked. I was down. I had to put some size on, so I went and put some
Okay,
size
okay,
on.
yeah.
Came back for that. So I think that one's in like May.
Okay.
Turned pro that next May after
The
that
next year?
contest.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Okay.
and so
That's
it's
cool.
pretty quick. It was only my third show ever, so I was really like,
Yeah, dude,
okay,
that's fast.
thrown right into the fire. And
Yeah.
so, and then
Well,
I
what
learned
year was
quick.
that?
It was 20. I think it was 2014.
Okay,
Yeah,
so men's physique
2014.
was
Still
still
kind of
kind of
new.
new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of new. Classic hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
And I competed as a pro for a couple years, and then Classic came out, and Tamer and Tarek, those guys there in
Hmm.
California, they were like, "Hey, you should do Classic." So I switched over really quick, and
Hmm.
it was tough because I didn't really train my legs as much. I've always had decent sized legs, but had to start training legs more,
I
try to
see.
be competitive, and I don't know if you remember when Classic first came out, there was all the OG bodybuilders, like Stan McQuay and
Yes.
Darren Charles, and
Yes.
some of those guys were like dominating all the shows. So
Hmm.
it was tough because I was going straight from being men's physique to trying to compete with guys that used to be on the Olympia
Open
stage in
Yeah.
bodybuilders. Yeah.
212
Yeah.
and I was just like, man, my legs don't look like that. I remember I saw Stan. I was like, man, like, I mean, obviously he had been, competing in bodybuilding for probably 20 years by
Oh
the time
yeah.
started trying to go up against them. But yeah, now looking back, I mean, it was a great journey. I got more into just focusing on my coaching business, after competing for about 6 or 7 years. But now I'm kind of getting the itch. I'm 38, the window's starting to close. I'm like maybe
Really?
get back on
So
stage.
you would
It's
do an
tough.
open or you would do a masters?
I don't know, maybe both, because I think some shows, if you go to a masters, you can do both, right?
Yes.
So that would be fun. But my son, he's not the age I feel like he would remember it, because when
Okay.
he was first born, it's like he's not gonna really know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
But now I think it'd be cool to have
Be
kind of
able
do
to
the same
see.
thing. Do the same thing to him, right? Get him motivated by him. Oh, I want to lift like my dad. So, and yeah, I think that'd be fun, and it's just another level of motivation, I
Mhm.
feel like. But it is tough because bodybuilding is it's a selfish sport. You got to
Mhm.
put so much time and energy into it. It's tricky. And I get hangry too when I diet to
Oh, you're
that
like that.
extent. It's like
Yeah.
I get real
Yeah. Not
quiet.
everybody diets good. I'm
Well, now there's the GLP,
Oh,
agonist
it
that a
helps.
lot
Yeah.
of the bodybuilders have been using to quiet the
Yeah.
food noise
Oh,
in
for
their
sure.
head. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Which I'm
they've been using
actually,
it.
I just started taking that this week. So
Oh yeah.
because I work with a TRT doc that does some of the different peptides, and
Okay.
I've been curious about, different ones, seeing if it would help. Because I don't know, my dad's side is all Polynesian. So I just have a
Oh,
crazy
okay.
appetite. I can eat like none other. And I basically have to try extra hard on the other side, because for me, putting on size has always been super easy, like if I just eat up. But
Just
yeah,
coming in shredded.
coming in shredded, it's always hard to
That's
get that
yeah.
last little
Yeah,
layer off.
Mark, I
Yeah.
don't know if you've been paying attention. We talked about how the lack of internet viewing you've been doing, but like
Yeah,
now with all the GLP-1
yeah,
agonists, I mean, there's other things, other peptides like
oh yeah.
SOUPP
Oh, I
and
just seen
methylene
that
blue and
one
all of that.
recently. Yeah,
Vigorous Steve and his
yeah,
roundtable with Kurt Havens and that other guy, Dean, that was
yeah,
an excellent one if you want to go
oh
down a
yeah,
fat loss deep dive
oh
with.
yeah,
But especially since you've been working with a doctor,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he knows about all of those
yeah,
peptides,
for
how
sure.
beneficial they are as well too.
100%. I can't remember the other guy's name, but I mean, he's huge. He's the guy who kind of went viral for taking, like, I forget how much he got his test levels up to like
Oh,
20,000
that
something.
was
You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Chase Irons,
Yeah, Chase. So,
Yeah. I
and
saw
he's been
some of the stuff.
experimenting a lot with those peptides,
retatrutide.
kind of
Yeah,
showing, just
What
the
they can do.
benefits, kind of helping
Mm.
you diet down. And
yeah.
for
Okay.
me, I've seen a lot of the stuff online about how what's bad for your gut health, or you could do this. I think it's all based on the dose, right? It's kind of
That's
like
what they say, right? The
yeah,
devil's in the
yeah,
dose.
exactly. So I think if used right, even with my clients, I'm telling them, hey, if you want to get, and because I think that's the hardest part for everybody, is just staying strict on the diet,
Hmm.
and if you've
Yeah.
got too much of that, the food noise, like you said, it makes it really hard to
Yeah. And
not
then
snack
Chase
and
Irons
cheat.
talks a lot about it, microdosing it to where it just turns off that. So
Yeah,
you maintain to stay on track a lot more diligently.
Man, I
yeah,
wish I had that
Microdosing
yeah,
it,
yeah.
when I was training.
Just a hack.
right?
Yeah,
Microdosing it a couple of times a week versus taking a bolus injection one time a week, like how
Mm.
the doctor's been prescribing. So
yeah,
the
yeah,
bodybuilders have a really great hack on this GLP agonist stuff.
yeah,
Wow.
Yes,
yeah.
they do.
It's great.
I
This
know a
is
lot
why
about it.
this is why I
That's
have
why yeah,
Mel.
right. That's
Mel
why
keeps
she knows her
I
stuff.
do
Yeah,
watch a lot of stuff, but this stuff definitely
Yeah,
keeps up on it.
I keep
So
up to par
she's
yeah,
with the
into it.
latest and
Yeah. So
100%.
greatest
it's
as well
great.
too,
Yeah,
especially with
I'm just
peptides.
finding this out today.
yeah.
I'm about to hop on that
About
again
to
now.
order some.
Let's
You'd be
go.
all
I'm gonna get
shredded
on
up in
stage
2
again, dude.
weeks.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Mark, it's never too late. You got till 65 to do
You still
masters
look
and
awesome,
65
I
man.
can do the
plus.
old guy
Yeah,
category.
exactly. Let's both do a
Torn
comeback.
pecs, torn quads. It's okay. We're up
Like
there still flexing,
whatever.
dude.
You're shredded. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
but we'll be
Yeah,
definitely looking forward to you stepping on stage.
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
Do you
yeah.
have like a show you may want to do?
I don't know. It's tough. It's like I'm on the fence on timeline. I think at least like another 6 months. Like I try to stay in good shape year round, but getting that extra level of
Oh yeah,
conditioning,
that's
it's like I want to
the
give myself plenty of time, but I even tell my clients, so you give yourself too much time, you end up not doing it, or you kind of like you push it off because something comes up or whatever. So it's definitely one of those things you want to lock in and commit to. I would love to do the next show here. I think they're
hmm
doing. I don't know. Are they doing
Sean
Classic
Ray.
Pro with the Sean Ray, or
I don't
Men's
know if
Physique
they're doing it
Pro,
again
or
or not. I mean,
I
they're
think they were going back to the physique. They're staying.
Men's
Physique?
Physique
It's
Yeah,
Pro. I
they
think
had a
Men's
better
Physique Pro.
turnout.
yeah,
Yeah, they do have a good turnout for Men's
yeah.
Physique. So
Which
you
that's
could do that.
I could do, but
Yeah.
it's funny. It's like I love the Men's Physique guys. I feel like that's you have to train really hard, but I would love to, I don't know, just stick to classic, but I don't
Hmm.
know. We'll see. I feel like health wise for me, I just feel better lighter. Like when I have to bulk up to
Okay.
like 260 or even
Get big. Yeah.
270, I just, I hate that feeling not being able to tie your
Hmm.
shoes or just feeling
Yeah.
out of breath doing
Well, there's
anything.
the
So,
what Olympia Masters. When is that?
I'm not sure. Not sure. Yeah, I haven't even because I'm 30. I'll be 38 in another month, so I'm definitely in that bracket now. It's pretty
Mm.
crazy, but yeah, I'm like, oh, it happens fast.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, and it's good for business. For me, I always tell guys, it's like, as a coach, your body is your resume. So if you're not staying in shape, you're not staying on top of your game. People aren't hiring you.
Oh
They're
yeah.
not too interested in
Can't
learning.
trust a
Because
fat
Yeah,
coach.
is that
exactly,
what you're doing now though?
exactly.
You just do online coaching
Yeah, it's
basically?
all
That's
all
the
online. And
yeah.
yeah, kind of back to that part of the story. So we moved, we were in Utah. I'm from California originally, pretty much grew up my whole life there.
Hmm.
We were in California for about probably 6 or 7 years after living in Utah for a little bit. And my goal was just to be all online so I could move out here. And that's what we did. Moved out here. Great. It's just hard living on the North Shore because there's not many gyms up
Yeah.
there. There's like nothing.
Yeah.
So if I lived down the street from Iron Hawaiian, I'd be extra
You'd be in
motivated and
heaven.
and it's where all the bodybuilders train, in here. So it's definitely it's good to come in here at least once a week
Yeah.
for sure, get fired up. But yeah, it's and now we're basically splitting half our year here, half the year on the mainland, just to
Oh, okay.
make it a little bit. It does get a little tough because I coach a lot of guys on the East Coast, so I do phone calls with them, checking in.
Mm, okay.
It's good and bad because most days I'm done with work by like noon or 2 o'clock because everybody else their day is over,
Yeah. Yeah.
in Florida or wherever. So it's fun though. I love it out here. It's made a lot of friends over the years out here. So like Tonawai, go train with him,
Yeah.
those
Well, you
guys.
work
Trying
out
to get
at his gym, right? He has a
yeah,
home gym.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
he is funny because I moved out here and Stan, he had always told me about Tonawai for years. And then when I moved down the street, I realized he was just a few blocks away from the house. I'm like, oh, this
So
is
crazy.
perfect. Like I got his spot and we became good friends. And
Yeah.
yeah, we've practically like family now. So it's really
Oh, that's
cool.
great.
Yeah, it's
That
fun.
worked out.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So yeah, as much as because Oh Boy was out here, but he's on the complete opposite
Yeah.
side,
Hawaii
East
Kai.
the
side. Yeah.
furthest
Yeah.
part from the North Shore,
Yeah.
basically. He was like, I'm never gonna see you. I'm like, yeah,
Pretty
because
much.
it's tough. If you live there, you usually don't go up to the North Shore too much.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, it's fun though. You can't beat. I tell everybody. I try not to tell everybody we don't want to get it too crowded here, but it's a great place for sure.
It
But
is. This island specifically is
oh
very
yeah,
overpopulated, but
yeah,
the outskirt islands is not too bad.
yeah,
And since your
exactly.
father was from the Big Island, you never wanted to move there where it's a little bit more slower.
Yeah, I feel like it would be maybe a little too slow for me
Oh,
because here it's like it's nice. The North Shore feels slow
It
most of
does.
the time, and then I can come,
to the city.
this side and get, go to Costco, go to the mall.
What part of
You
the Big Island? Is your dad?
My dad, he's like Waimea,
Oh,
That's
Waipiu,
where my
yeah,
yeah. I live
over
in
family's
there.
at.
Waimea.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
we
want to
might
move back there.
A
might be
year.
related. Who knows?
It's a
Yeah,
nice spot
yeah.
out there.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, Tonawa has a brother that has a spot over there where like we should go out and he's really big into hunting
Oh
and
yeah. They
all
do
the
that.
outdoor stuff
Hmm.
over there. So yeah, I don't make it over there enough really. I want to make a point to do that for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's fun, man. The bodybuilding lifestyle is. I want to hear some of your story on how. So did you grow up on Oahu or did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
I grew up. I
And
grew up here,
how
man.
old were you when you got into bodybuilding?
Sh- Like, I mean, actually bodybuilding. I don't know. I thought I was bodybuilding, but I was probably like 15, 16.
Yeah, yeah, just
Thinking I'm
lifting.
bodybuilding.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you got
exactly.
a book, right? Like Joe Weider,
Yeah,
Introduction to Bodybuilding, whatever. It's
exactly.
like this is what you're reading, so
Yeah,
you're like you're bodybuilding, but
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it
exactly.
was basically just working out and just trying to learn how to do it. It was the 80s, man. So
Yeah,
it was, yeah, there wasn't a lot of information, I
yeah.
guess, like
Had to
that
be
was available to you.
such a
You had to
fringe
seek it
sport.
out.
Yeah, yeah,
You had to
for
get
sure.
books, and then even at gyms, um, back then, people like a lot of the guys, they were kind of quiet about it, especially
Yeah.
the bodybuilders. They didn't want to really help people.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was like, man,
But
we had
at
to
that time that
learn.
you guys were bodybuilding in your era, a lot of the power lifters used to make fun of the bodybuilders. That's why the
Yes.
bodybuilders wanted to keep quiet. Like they used to get hazed a lot for
Well,
dressing out in their
no,
trunks,
that
right?
was the
Yeah.
so because I initially, it's funny, I was into bodybuilding, then I power lifted for about 3 years
Yeah.
because there was a lot of power lifters.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'll do that. And
Yeah.
then it was funny. So I was decent at it, but I didn't want to continue doing it. I was like, I
Yeah.
really want to do bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So then when I shifted to bodybuilding, I already knew all the powerlifters. Like they
Yeah.
were cool with me because I had already been powerlifting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had won a couple
Kind
of
of got the
shows,
street cred.
couple of
You're
titles,
cool with
and
them. Yeah.
yeah. So they were like, oh yeah, that's Mark. He's in
Yeah.
bodybuilding now, and
That's cool.
so it was okay. It was fine.
Yeah.
But I had to learn completely different because
Oh, yeah.
powerlifting is not the same as bodybuilding.
Oh, yeah.
It's so different. So I had to learn like, oh yeah, you have to lift differently, and there's
Yeah.
there's different things that you take and do. So
It's
yeah,
awesome to
so
see so many really good bodybuilders had that foundation. I kind of wish I would have gone more into
the
that when I was younger.
powerlifting
Yeah, the
style, yeah.
powerlifting and just learning how to just focusing more on progressive overload. I feel like there's a lot of kids nowadays, they're going straight to Instagram like, oh, I want to look like this Insta famous TikTok guy, and they're not really learning the fundamentals
Yeah,
of
no,
training.
Straight to
They're just
Instagram and then
yeah, straight
straight
to
to
like, oh, I
gear.
just want to be shredded and on
yeah.
trend. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, man, you
I
gotta
have this conversation with people, I feel like
yeah,
almost every other week. I mean, about how, especially nowadays, again, it sounds funny because it's like I'm the old guy saying
yeah.
nowadays,
Nowadays, yeah,
but it's true. It's like you see a lot of the guys, I don't think that they know how to train hard.
oh
Like,
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
like
they don't
really
even
train hard. Yeah,
understand because
yeah,
they're constantly filming all their stuff,
yeah,
and it's like an image thing, right?
yeah,
There's an image that they're trying to portray. So are they really pushing themselves? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And
A
most of
hundred
them aren't.
percent.
I mean,
Are
that's
they
why
really?
I look at like Sam Sulek and I'm like, that's why he's like blowing up because he's like the one young guy that actually trains, like
Yeah.
looks, and you can tell he trains hard. Like he's developed a lot of muscle at a young age, but
Yeah,
yeah, so many
that
other
guy really
ones,
blew up.
yeah,
I mean,
blew up.
I don't
So
know what was special
it was
or what
just
was it about
a
him.
lot of he was just like doing these raw videos of him training till failure and like
So
and
that
really
was
going
it.
to failure, and everyone's like, oh
Okay.
damn, because most of the other young kids are just like, look at me
Making it
type
look good. Right.
content,
That's what I was
let
saying.
me
Like
just,
it looks
which I
good,
get it,
but
it's way easier to do that than it is to do the like, oh, you're
hard
failing
training.
on whatever set and you're just like grunting and
Yeah,
and
making
it just
noises and
went
yeah.
viral because it's hard to video that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
If I'm
Yeah.
ever really training hard, usually I'm not filming it.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually I'm like, okay, I got done. Let me show you guys some clips. I'll do like a
Yes.
couple of videos. Because I'll have people ask me that, like, do you usually train with that weight? And I'm like, this is just to kind of show you how to do it. I'm not like gonna do my heaviest set on Insta,
Yeah,
on
of
like a
course.
video. I don't,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be locked in. I don't want to be
Yeah,
so.
distracted from
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
exactly. Which with him, it's like he pulls it off well, and yeah, but it's rare. I feel like a lot of these kids, again, it's just that's how times have changed, right? Everybody wants the instant gratification of, I want to be
Yeah, like
famous
how
or I
they
want to,
always say the Instagram thing is your highlight reel, which
yeah.
it's Sam Sulek, he doesn't mind failing in front of the
Oh
camera,
yeah, for
lifting the
sure.
heavy weight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
training hard and all that.
He's
But yeah,
competing this year, I think.
yeah, I think at the
He's
Arnold.
shredded.
Yeah, yeah, he looks good. He's been doing a lot of cardio. I noticed he's been doing at least an hour and a half a day,
He's been
which
Arnold amateur?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, Arnold Amateur,
That
which
guy Louis Marco, that one sensational
Oh, Louis
guy,
okay,
Marco.
he
yeah,
was posting up Sam Sulek's video like, yeah, he's not ready for whatever,
Mm.
yeah,
dissing him on wanting to do
yeah.
classic and stuff. But
Already.
Louis,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
he likes to just
He
Oh
talk
always
shit
yeah,
to
I
make
like to
content.
arouse.
he's
Yeah,
funny
yeah,
stuff.
get the hype. But yeah, speaking of cardio, how much did you have to do when you prepped for shows? Did you do a lot back in?
Um, well, yeah, I didn't, I had to again, that was another thing I had to really try to figure out.
Yeah,
Um, had to try to figure out like what was best for my body type.
yeah, yeah,
And so the thing is kind of like how you were saying with dieting, I used to kind of struggle towards the end there to
yeah.
get that last
Last
bit
couple
off.
percent.
Really hard on me. I would struggle so much, but my body was very responsive when I dieted
Yeah,
well, and I think that's
yeah,
most people, right?
for sure.
I don't think I needed a ton of cardio.
Yeah,
Actually, I just needed to diet
Yeah, and be
Harder.
on
strict.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the
And
diet.
the problem
No
was
extra
that
little bit of
there was
this or a little bit of that.
sometimes that Hicks having a hard time with it. So
Oh yeah,
I definitely added in cardio in there. And I feel like I probably did too much
yeah,
overall.
for
I
sure.
might have done honestly like when I was like really doing it, sometimes I would do like double like 40 45s,
Yeah,
45
yeah,
45, which
yeah,
is a lot. I
yeah.
mean, that was kind of a
Sure.
lot. I think for me, like I could have just gotten away with like maybe an hour a day. That's it tops.
Yeah,
Maybe even less, to be
yeah,
honest.
for sure.
At the beginning, maybe, and just kind of an hour and get down. And once I'm, because most of the time, I think a month out, my body was already moving really well. If I could
Yeah,
just stick to the
stay
diet,
that, keep that
I
momentum
would
going.
be ready. But a lot of times, I think I over dieted
So
sometimes.
Yeah,
were
yeah.
were did you
Yeah.
have a coach at that time that you were competing, or you kind
No,
of
I never
self-trained
did.
They didn't have
and
coaches
kind of
back then.
Yeah, there really
Very
wasn't
few.
they're
coaches. So
really
it was like friends, right?
right?
Your
Okay.
friends look at you like, "Hey, man, let's meet up. Look at me. Tell me, what do you think?" Like, and you go
I
pose in
would
your
see
place.
that
You're
a
like,
lot
"Yeah,
of
Yeah.
yeah, your guys' generation, and you
yeah,
guys would come through 24-hour
oh
fitness a
yeah."
lot, pose
Pose
downstairs.
downstairs.
You
There
see
was
all
that
these big
area.
monsters,
Yes.
Yeah. They're
where
all
they were
just
gonna go
checking
pose
in with each
I
downstairs.
had a
other, just kind of
Yeah.
like, all
I had
right,
one of my
bro. Yeah.
buddies, Eddie. He used to
Yep,
work there at
Eddie.
24, yeah.
Hmm.
And I used to go down there and be like, "Hey, dude, check it out." And then he would look at me and be like, "Oh yeah, man. Okay, yeah, you look good."
Yeah.
And so
That way you're not just getting stuck in your own head
yeah,
about
because I
how
mean,
things are going.
I would, right? I
Yeah,
would
for
just,
sure.
I was like,
Like,
I'm not ready,
yeah,
whatever.
I look
He's
like
like, no,
shit.
you're ready. Like, you look
Yeah.
good. Like, don't
Don't,
overdo. Because a lot of
yeah,
times I would think I would have to,
go way
cut
harder.
more
Yeah, way
calories or do
faster.
more cardio
Yeah.
when I'm like, no, you're good. And I honestly, I think that was my downfall a lot of times was I did overdo certain things.
You would lose
Yeah, and
fullness
I
or
think
lose like
yeah, and I think
certain
I kind of
look.
lost some muscle there
Yeah,
towards
yeah,
the end
for
because I
sure.
would kind of like overdo it a little bit.
Yeah.
So there was a few shows came in great, and then a few shows just wasn't that great because I just though when those were I was trying to
So
come so shredded that I
Yeah.
overdid it.
Yeah. And then you're just flat and you're like, man, I don't
Yep.
always. And then like 2 days after the show,
Oh
you're like,
yeah,
oh,
you look
now I
good.
look perfect.
Oh no,
Like
you
this
look
is how I want
yeah.
to look
2
on
days
stage.
later,
Yeah.
right? You're like, what
Oh,
happened?
yeah. It's
Or I'm a
brutal.
week out, and guys like, oh, you're gonna win, and then you go
Yeah.
to the show, and they're like, dude, what happened to you, Mark? And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
messed up. I
It's
kind of,
tough.
I kind of
you got one
did the
shot.
I
Yeah.
overdid it that last week. Like I
Yeah.
thought I was gonna like deplete. Let me deplete, and
Yeah.
you just kill
Yeah.
yourself.
Oh,
That's a
for
lot of
sure.
mistakes that I see in the lower ranking. The people think more is better,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
into the peak week. But actually, the cortisol, like how we always talk
yeah.
about that week, it messes you
Shoots
so
up,
bad.
Oh, yeah.
shoots up, and you
Yeah.
don't even realize it, right? Like it's just there. It just
And
happens. You
sometimes
don't
your
even
body just
realize.
needs
Yeah.
rest when you're like, oh,
Yep,
I still
that's
look
the big
flat.
one.
I still look watery.
Yeah.
I need to do more cardio. I need to sit in a hot
Yeah.
tub or like whatever,
Mhm.
a sauna,
Yeah.
and you
And you're
just
just you're
fuck it
killing
up
it. You're
more.
beating it
Yep.
Yeah.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
And even gear too. Sometimes I would like, oh, towards the end, I would like, oh, let me take a little bit more of this, or a little,
Yeah.
like
I need
thinking it's
some
going to help
trenace
It's
in
me.
my
it's all it's
Yeah,
all
shoulders.
just
yeah.
right there.
Let me
Like,
just throw
maybe.
another two cc's in this week.
Yeah, like it's gonna
Like
make
for
a
what?
difference.
Like it's like like
Yeah.
what it's gonna do
Yeah.
all of a sudden.
Exactly. It's
Like,
instantly gonna make a difference.
yeah,
Yeah.
So on your pursuit for your pro card, were
Yeah.
you self-trained,
Yes.
self-coached and all?
Yeah. So that was the thing too for me. I just had a few friends and we would kind of check in on each other and I would pick their brains and then I would try to kind of combine that with what I felt was best. And it got me far. Like I feel like after I turned pro, sometimes I'd almost get confused because certain coaches, it'd be way too much food. And I'm like, I don't need that much food. I could just tell I wasn't even hungry for it. And so,
mhm,
and I'm being an easy gainer. Like for me, I know I have to be hungry. When I'm prepping, I've got to be on that edge of like, I feel like I'm about to pass out almost like, especially towards the end, when
mhm.
you're like, you're just always hungry. You eat your meal and you're like, you're hungry for another
Hmm.
meal
Get
already.
nothing. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I used a few different coaches after I turned pro, but that's what I always tell people. You want to learn and just find what works from everybody you work with, because there's certain things that maybe don't work for you.
Hmm.
And just trying to. It's a journey though, because I think everybody is so unique. And
Yeah.
then even just the mental aspect, like you were saying, having the tendency to overwork. That was me too, because I would work during the summers and then do shows the rest of the year and kind of just didn't even have to work. And so I would go to the gym like 3, 4 times a day. And I wouldn't
Oh,
train every time, but I would do something, because I was just going stir crazy sitting at
Yeah.
home, like wanting
Yeah.
to eat. I basically want to go to the gym so I wouldn't just stare at the fridge all day. So yeah, I definitely overdid it though. A few shows, I remember I was doing cardio at least 2 times a day, training 2 times a day. Now I look back and I'm like, man, it definitely,
Yeah. It's a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's too much, which I don't know. I just saw a clip with Jay, I think it was Jay and Cutler and Michael Hearn talking about
Mhm.
training like twice a day and how they love it, and I don't know if that's
Some
something he did
people
when he prepped for shows or that's just, nowadays he just goes every day because, that's just part of his
Yeah, I think it's
schedule. But
Social
Jay.
life, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
Jay was yeah, he
is
was
he an
definitely like a
overtrainer?
high volume guy.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
came from that school of like
Yeah,
high volume.
yeah. I could never handle the Dorian Yates
Yeah.
style of
I
like
actually
just a
did
few
that.
times a
I
week.
like that.
Yeah, where you only train
That's
what, 3 times
well,
a
I train
week
four
or
days a week
yeah, 4 days.
usually,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Which
I actually like that type
if
of
you go
training.
that hard, I feel like you can get away with it for sure and make solid progress. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tricky one finding what you respond to. And I
It
feel like
is.
as your age changes, you respond differently too.
That's
Like when I
exactly
was
it. Yep.
younger, I feel like I could train twice a day and I would just grow. Where now I'm like, I don't think it works that way anymore because
Yeah, it'd
my
be
body
tough,
doesn't
man.
recover fast enough.
That'd be
Yeah.
tough, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, I love growing up wrestling. It's like such an all in sport. You're cutting weight, you're
Yeah.
constantly training to, I think it's why there's so many wrestlers that love bodybuilding because it's all encompassing too. You got to constantly be working
Yeah,
on
it's a very
your
individual
physique and
sport, right?
everything. Yeah,
Like
100%.
how many years did
The
you wrestle?
most. I started when I was like 10
Oh,
all the
wow.
way till like 20. So yeah, like 10
Oh, wow.
years. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I
You wrestled
wrestled.
in college? Huh?
Yeah, D1
Where?
and Cal State Fullerton.
Oh, you went to
Yeah,
Cal.
yeah.
Okay,
So
wow.
that's where Tito Ortiz went, and
That's
a
right.
couple of my buddies went the UFC route, and that was when it was just barely kind of getting big at
Mm,
that time. So I kind of was like, I got invited to go to the Olympic Training Center, and then I ended up taking a break because I failed a bunch of classes in my first year of college, just partying too much and
really?
yeah, making dumb choices. But then, yeah, and then I found bodybuilding and got way more into that and it's paid off. I don't know. I look back as a kid, my dad training me at like 10 or 11 and now we still train together and it's like it's
Hmm.
what I do
Oh, that's
for work,
awesome.
it's fun. It's full circle for sure. But
Yeah, that's cool, man.
yeah,
So you said you
it's
had
been
a
fun.
son. How old is he?
He's 4.5. Yeah, four
Okay.
and a half. Yeah, so it's a blast. My wife wants to have more, but I'm like I like having one. It's nice right now because it's just we can do a lot. He's at that age where we can take him anywhere. It's easy.
On
But
top of that, too, like the influence that you have upon him is probably going to be the same influence your father had upon you,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the whole bodybuilding thing.
yeah,
So
for sure.
it's part of his life as well, too.
100%.
Mm,
Yeah. And I think nowadays seeing, you can easily go one way or the other when it comes to nutrition and, raising your kid right. And
Yeah.
so it's definitely he won't have much of a choice but to learn about macros
yeah. Well, I
and
mean, I
healthy
hope
eating and all
hopefully
that
food
stuff.
gets better, and then
Yeah,
like
right. Yeah, with
the quality of
Oh,
food's been
yeah.
going down over
oh
the years.
yeah,
So,
yeah, 100%.
hopefully when he's older, it's better.
Yeah,
But
seriously. Hopefully it's not all factory made or
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
3D
Yeah,
printed
yeah,
and oh,
3D
that
yeah,
printed
that
meat.
that
I know,
frightens me.
Oh
I know,
yeah, it's
3D
crazy.
printing
3D
food.
printed meat. That's crazy.
That's so
That's
nuts.
weird,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Hopefully not. But
Ugh,
but
it's like a
yeah,
sci-fi movie,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah, it's like reminds me of those like space movies where they have like
Yeah,
tubes of food
it's tubes,
or they
yeah,
just put it in a
and
little
just
thing and it
labeled,
prints it out or
right?
whatever.
Like the
Yeah,
Jetsons, right? You put it
Yeah,
in
yeah,
there
it's just
and it
labeled
comes out.
steak. You're like,
yeah.
okay,
Boom. Oh man, it's nuts.
crazy,
But
man.
yeah, it's fun, man. I don't know. I look at kind of where fitness and bodybuilding has gone, and there's always with more good, there's always more bad. Like we were talking about all the TikTok,
Hmm.
era. But I feel like there's a lot of good to it because there's a lot more people getting exposed to it, kind of compared to where back in your day when it was so kind of like in the shadows. Now it's
Yeah,
like it's so popular. It's kind of nuts to see how big it's
yeah,
gotten, how some of
it's
these brands have just blown it up. I'll go around and I'll see dark sport everywhere. I'm like,
well,
the
you're
heck?
you're you're with
Yeah,
them again. You
we
got
just got back
signed
on
on with them.
board. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's pretty. That's kind of a whole nother story because when I moved back here, I got an offer from another brand, and it just didn't make sense. And I kind of so I had to take a break from being with them. But we stayed close, stayed friends, and then now that they're starting a whole Ohana side, it's all, you know,
Hmm.
all about Hawaii
The local stuff,
and
yeah.
a lot of the surfers that I know and work out with when I'm on the North Shore. So I'm like, it makes sense and will be a cool thing to kind of combine the two worlds because I think,
Yeah.
A
you know,
lot of the MMA fighters too are
yeah,
jumping on with the dark sport
yeah,
Ohana as
yeah,
well,
they have
right?
Max Holloway's on there and
Yeah, that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
super cool,
That's
super
awesome.
humble guy. I've got to meet him and yeah, he's the nicest guy ever. You would never know that he was a killer, you know, in the ring,
Right.
but yeah, it'll be fun. Me and Oh Boy, we've been friends for almost 10 years now. So I actually
Hmm.
brought him in because I was on
Oh,
Dark Sport
okay.
when we met.
Oh, so you brought
And
Old Boy
yeah, I
in.
brought him into the
Oh,
office and
okay.
Awesome.
he got to meet the owners and they instantly hit it off.
Yeah.
So we trip out now because it's like he's literally the main guy for
Yeah,
the
for
whole team.
Hawaii,
Like he's
right?
the
He
face of the whole
is.
I
brand
know.
now.
Well, his
Yeah.
energy, right? He
Oh
has
yeah,
such
Yeah,
you
high
can't.
he
energy.
is
This
Yeah,
guy.
different
it's
energy.
unmatched. Like it was funny because when he wasn't really the face yet, he would come to the shoots and he would just be having that same energy, and it was just like so obvious. Like man, this
Mm,
guy is all about it. Like he loves it. He's
yes.
so motivating. You know, gets everyone fired up because everyone, you know, most bodybuilders are pretty quiet. You know, kind of
Hmm.
like just chilling, and Oh Boy is kind of bringing that unique,
Rambunctious.
yeah,
Yeah, we
uniqueness
like
to it. Yeah,
rambunctious. Yeah.
for
Well, even
sure.
at the shows, like the local shows,
Oh yeah,
before he even turned pro, I mean, he would
yeah.
be there, and I don't know whoever he was like supporting there.
Yeah, yeah, you knew it. You
Where
know,
yeah,
yeah,
he was there, and you would hear him like
yeah.
yelling,
Let's
and
go. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
the
It
man.
was
Yeah, he's definitely a great ambassador for the sport,
Oh,
especially
for
for like
sure.
dark sport. I mean, I've
Oh
seen
yeah,
him a couple of times, his videos. I mean, Olympia booths and stuff like that. His
yeah,
energy is
yeah,
high. It's
yeah,
up there, right?
100%.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Well,
authentic. You know, you can tell it's like he really feels it. He's all about the message, and yeah. So it'll be fun that we'll get to because we already we're like family, but now getting to travel and go to different things together that'll be fun.
And now that you guys are onboarding like surfers, MMA guys, and
Yeah,
making like a
yeah,
bunch of elitists as
yeah,
far as dark sport
yeah, and other
Ohana, that's
sports.
freaking
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It kind of shows how big the bodybuilding side just I mean, I've noticed it over the last few years, probably the last 4 or 5. Like I'll go to like a 24-hour fitness or something and like
you'd
every
see.
guy like has dark sport on and
Yeah, it's very
Before
popular.
it
it's
was
all
Young
these
LA and
yeah,
Shark, Gym Shark,
yeah,
and
Gym
now it's
Jim
Shark,
all
Shark,
yeah,
dark
yeah,
a
sport.
lot of dark sport.
a lot
It's
of dark sport.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty wild. So I'm happy for those guys. I think it's good because it's spreading the fitness message and
hmm
all that shows how many more people are getting into it too. So yeah, it's fun. But
yeah, it's cool.
yeah, I
Yeah.
excited to see what the future brings and yeah, this is the spot though. I love this gym. You guys are lucky you get to train here every day. Yeah.
Yeah, just lots of years putting this together. So
Hmm.
Oh, yes.
now,
Yeah.
Well, the
now it
one
does
thing
its
that I
thing.
liked with Mark, he's because not to like put you on blast for how old you are, but because you've been in so many gyms, bodybuilding, different styles and such. I mean, you are really particular on the type of equipment that you do house here. So that's
Yeah.
why I personally like coming here because of the choice of equipment that you do
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Exactly. They put a lot of thought into it. Where a
Yes.
lot of gyms, it's like, oh, we just need a back piece, or we just need an arm piece, whatever.
Yeah,
They
well,
don't
I think
really,
they kind of it's
where they have to because
well
they have to have one
they'll
brand or
buy the
whatever.
brand, right? And
Yeah,
they
that's
just
it.
ship it in, so it's easier that way.
Oh yeah,
Like how I did it is
yeah.
the
More
long way, I
expensive.
guess you want to
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
Well, it's the longer way because it just took time, right?
yeah.
It
Hundred
wasn't like
percent.
a turnkey gym.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but I mean, that for me, that worked out better anyway because
Yeah.
I didn't have the big space at first. So,
How many years have you had the gym now? How many
yeah,
years?
it's been like 13,
13.
13.
13,
That's awesome.
a little bit over 13. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's solid.
I
Yeah,
like forget. It's been a
See, I'm
while.
not the OG where it was downstairs.
Yeah,
I joined when it was like upstairs and you only had the third.
when I first came up. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. How many
And
years have been upstairs then?
so I was
So I think I remember that
downstairs.
story. There's somebody else, and then
Yeah,
this opened up, so you moved up here.
2011 towards the ending of 2011, I
Okay.
was downstairs. I
Yeah.
started, and then at the ending of 2012, so basically like the beginning of 2013 is when I
Moved
started up
up here.
here.
That's awesome.
So it was a little bit over a year being downstairs in that little room.
You ever think you'd move? Like you ever see anything pop up and you're like, oh, maybe I'd move the gym over there or no? Never.
Oh, I mean, there's like
Just
things.
be too much work, right?
No, there you go.
Yeah.
There's some ideas going on right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple things going on. I haven't talked to people about it, but there are a couple things, so we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see
yeah.
how it goes.
But
Yeah, I'm
you've been
just
locked
waiting.
in this place with such
Oh no,
a great,
this place has been
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's definitely good. There are a few drawbacks to it, as far as like parking,
Yeah, yeah.
things like that.
Little stuff,
That would
yeah.
be nice, So there are, but the space has been great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a warehouse, so there's a lot
Yeah.
of leaks. Like
Yeah,
I just fixed the roof recently. I was up there
yeah.
sealing it and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot. I think the cool thing about it is there's a lot of history in this building,
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
the way it
You could
looks.
feel it, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I
it
mean,
has
you
that
can't you
rustic
can't take the
feel.
mural with you. You can't take,
Yeah,
the vibe that it
right.
has. It's
Yeah.
like,
That's
yeah,
what's cool
that's the
about
hard
it.
thing.
It's got that history and all that. So if I ever do go,
Yeah, maybe we
it'll
open one on the North Shore. We'll open a
Hey,
volume
you never
two
know.
up there.
You never know.
That'd be pretty awesome. Me and Tunnel have been talking about it for a while because he wants to have something up there for the locals,
Yeah,
them
I
to
thought he was gonna do something.
learn
Yeah.
about dieting, learn about, because I mean, it's sad. A lot of people, they don't really know better. So they're just like, oh, just going to eat the bad food and not, take care of myself. And
Yeah.
then they have all the issues, whether it's
Oh
high
yeah,
blood pressure, diabetes, all that. So I've got
for sure.
a lot of that in my family. I think that's kind of my core reason why I love fitness so much. It's like it's not just about, looking better, but also being healthy. I think that's the great motivator for
I think
everybody. Live a
that
long
should be the
life.
long term, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
when you're competing, you're
You're only
competing. It's
focused on
different.
that day.
That's
Yeah.
different. You're like, it's not so much
That's
health.
extreme in the wrong way.
But
Yeah.
then after you get done with all that, and
Yeah.
I mean, even now where you're at now, it's like, okay, like, yeah,
Yeah.
should be health, should be really,
Yeah,
I
not
think, priority, especially
exactly.
you're getting a little bit older. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So what is
Yeah.
the biggest gym that's close to you up in the North Shore?
Man, I'd say the closest would be like 24 in
Oh, Mililani.
Kaneohe. Yeah, Mililani. Well, yeah, the Mililani one or the Kaneohe one. I'm like dead center.
Wow. Oh,
oh,
you're
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 right
Like
in
in the
the
40
middle.
like
middle.
45 minutes to
Oh, it's
each.
45 either
Yeah,
way.
Or
45
then
Really?
either
there's
way.
GY
Yeah,
a little
GY, which
bit
is
too.
basically like another 10 minutes,
Beyond
past
that.
Mililani.
Oh, I see.
Which yeah, I mean, there's some good gyms. I mean, this is my favorite gym. Not just saying that, but
But in
Yeah.
in preparation for your next possible show, I mean,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you
What
would
would I
want to.
do?
Yeah, what would
Yeah,
you do?
so I mean, I would probably time it to where I'm on the mainland for at least 3 months or so. That way, because our spot on the mainland, I'm literally like 2 minutes from like five different gyms.
Oh,
Oh,
So it's
okay.
like it's a little bit more convenient, and I have a gym at the house too.
Yeah.
Where here we have a small place that we stay at, and I mean, we got the essentials, but it's funny. There's just not much up there. There's a new CrossFit gym they just opened up there, but they literally have like four machines. That's
mm.
it. It's
Yeah,
kind of
because
funny. They like
CrossFit's barbells and
yeah,
stuff.
they don't do any of that kind of training, which I just can't train that way. I've tried it, but I notice a difference. You're just not getting as good of a workout as
Hmm.
far as building muscle.
Right.
So,
Yes.
but it's good for your cardio for sure.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a challenge.
No, that's cardio
Yeah,
all
I've
day,
seen
man.
Bumstead is getting into I don't know if you've seen some of his clips lately doing like the rower, and
Hmm.
he's
Yeah,
trying
some
to do
guys
more
are doing
athletic
hit
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more
I'm
hit
seeing
stuff,
that. We were
which
Yeah,
talking
we were
about
just
that.
talking about that.
yeah,
Not that,
yeah,
yeah, we were talking about all that stuff,
I
but
think
yeah.
I think he'll not only become a better athlete, but I think he might be sandbagging. He's preparing for something bigger. I think so.
You
I
think
don't think
so?
he's
Yeah,
done bodybuilding.
yeah. I feel like
So
he's so young. He's only like what 27 or
mhm.
something, maybe
He's
something like
is
that.
probably
he?
making
Oh,
more room, strengthening his joints and everything, making more room for more growth.
Yeah, yeah,
I think he could go to open bodybuilding and do fantastic
for
if he
sure.
chooses to.
Yeah, 100%. Considering how he looked, just that was crazy how he went straight from Olympia to
A few
that
weeks
frog
later,
show. Yeah,
yeah.
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
still looked nuts and just bigger too. I'm like,
yeah.
he's a freaking nature. I'm stoked that I got to compete with him once. It was
Oh, you did? Okay.
yeah, and he weighed in like right before me. Think I ended up taking like fifth, but it was him and do you know Santi Aragon? I think they were
Yes. Oh,
top
that
two.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
top two
Yeah, he's pretty
in
good.
that show. Yeah, he hasn't competed in a
Yeah,
while,
he
but
hasn't. He came in pretty peeled, that
yeah,
guy.
yeah, it's cool to see somebody like that and be so humble still, be that
Mm,
successful. It's always awesome when you see that. But but yeah, man, I
that's great.
stoked to hop on the podcast with you guys. Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
topics or
Yeah.
anything you guys want to talk about? Or
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
Jed, you got some ideas?
yeah,
So
yeah,
going into your pro show,
yeah.
your next pro show, we talked about it as well. How long have you been off of the scene?
It's been about yeah. It's like a new thing with the whole pro card thing.
Yeah.
That's something I looked into because I got panicked there. I don't know if you were here the day I was like, oh, does that mean they got rid of your pro card if you haven't competed in like
Oh
3 years?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess it's if I compete again, then I have to stay active.
Yeah, it
So
starts the
it's
reset
yeah, it
button.
starts as soon as you hit start again. So it's been since my son was born. So my son was born like right in the middle of COVID. And then I got COVID a couple of times. That's when I kind of decided, okay, I'm gonna take a break from competing a little bit because I was getting chest pains. I was getting some of those like myocarditis type symptoms,
Oh wow.
which since then I've been good, but it's been like they lasted almost for like 2 years. Like I would
Wow.
literally like
Really?
work out and start feeling a little tightness in the chest, and
Really?
I tried to get I got checked out and stuff, but
Yeah.
it was just weird timing. You hear a lot of bodybuilders having issues and
Uh-huh.
stuff. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, let me pump the brakes for a little bit.
Yep.
So it was a good time to take a break too with the new baby and everything. But now feeling healthier now, feeling good. Haven't been sick in a while, knock on wood, but that's always my biggest thing I tell guys. I'm like, you got to stay healthy. If you get sick or have something
Yeah.
happen, I mean, it makes it impossible to prep.
Oh
You
yeah.
definitely got to be healthy. But yeah, that whole new rule, I think it's smart because there are so many people that just want to put it in their bio and then not ever compete.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then, but yeah, now I guess it would mean I have to pay every year to keep it,
If you want to
keep it
keep it
going.
going,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Or every other
Yeah.
year compete so that you'd
Is that what they
maintain
said? Every
well,
other
you
year?
could because
Yeah.
on your third year you'd
You
fall
compete.
off again and then you'd have to
Yeah. Recompete.
re-qualify apparently
Yeah.
all
That's kind
over
Yeah,
of,
that's
again.
I wonder if
crazy.
that's going to stay. Like, I
That
don't know.
re-qualification part befuddles me a little bit
Yeah,
because
yeah. I
That's
feel like I don't
how
know.
you
I feel like that's one of those rules where they're like, I get their intentions behind it, but I think there's going to be a lot of pushback, especially the guys that are just now getting their pro cards
yeah,
this year.
yeah.
They're like, what if I want to take a break to put on size for three? Because like in open, there's a lot of guys, maybe not in open, but let's say you get a pro card and you're a bantamweight or you're a
Yeah,
middleweight, like
right.
you're going to need 5 years to put on enough size or maybe even to do 212 depending on what
yeah,
class you're in.
especially
So
from like a bantam to a oh
yeah, to
yeah.
a
But is it
212
if you
guy.
just pay it every year though, it'll stay active, or you have
Yeah,
to
I
compete?
think you
yeah.
have to compete.
You
That's
actually have to
part
be
of the
competing.
Oh,
caveat.
you
Yeah.
can't
Okay,
even just pay. Yeah, you
I
gotta.
see. So see, so you're right.
Yeah, it's
So you got
interesting.
to get up on stage
Yeah.
within 3 years, or you're gonna
What if there's all these guys that are like out of shape? They're just like whatever. They're just showing
Yeah.
up basically to make
just
sure
so
they
they
check
can,
the
yeah, check the
because
Or
box.
there's
like
no
how
rule like you have to be shredded.
No.
or they were saying or how some people are speculating a lot of it is maybe could be a possible money grab. I mean,
Yeah,
or what if they make another like a expired IFBB Pro qualifier competition so that
Hmm.
the winner of that may advance into the Open
yeah,
or the Masters and
Right.
maintain to stay active that way instead of having to go to the NPC qualifier to requalify for your IFBB Pro status. See, that's
yeah,
a little ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's pretty nuts. I mean,
yeah.
it's
It's
like there's so
interesting.
many people complaining about how many pro cards. I get it because they just want to keep the sport growing. They want people it to not be unattainable to
Yeah.
get your pro card and be able to enter that arena. So I get it why they give out so many and do so many national shows because
Hmm.
it all helps all the way down to the coaches. It's like, well, if there's not more shows and you got less clients, less
Yeah.
people prepping for shows, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I feel like there's still too big of a gap between classic and open. Like that's what I would like to see shift a little bit. That was a hard thing for me because I turned pro in men's physique. I weighed 225,
Okay.
and then I got
Wait,
into
how tall are
classic
you?
6'2".
Okay.
I got into classic, and the original weight class was 230. So it was like I didn't even train my legs, and I was already only
You're
five
almost
pounds
maxed out.
under the limit.
It
And I'm
was
like, that's
low.
a really
Yeah.
low.
They recently added 10 pounds though, right?
Not so they yeah. So it went from 230 to 240, and that was decent, but still,
It was
I
such
feel
a
like at
low
six
number,
two, I'm
man.
like 240 is still pretty low for 6'2".
I
Like
don't
there's
know.
guys,
I don't know why they made
like
that number so low.
yeah, I don't know how they did the math on it, but I did a lot of shows where there was guys, especially guys that had come down from bodybuilding. and they would come into the classic weigh-in and be like 10 pounds overweight.
Really?
And they would be like, "Oh, you can come back later." And they would come back when everyone's gone. So there's
And they
no
would let
telling
him.
if they
Oh,
just
I
let him
see.
in. And
Oh
I
shit.
saw that plenty of times where I was just like, okay, it's kind of like an arbitrary thing. Are you really not going to let me compete when I flew all the way from whatever country to
Yeah.
come
And you're
compete? And
10 pounds
yeah,
overweight.
it's
Yeah.
like, and I
Hmm.
never really saw a show where they did it, So that's the
I
tricky
see.
one, Uh, there's definitely a lot of conspiracy theories, and I always tried to, because like my wrestling background, I would always see the weight and like try, because you just get, that's
You're
even more of
obsessed
the
with it.
cortisol, you're like
Yeah.
upset, like, am I not going to make weight? Or because I had a couple of shows where I was like 5 pounds over and I had to lose like 5 pounds that day,
Really?
like it was
Okay.
just
Yeah,
like,
that sucks.
so, and that definitely ruins
That's
your look.
stressful.
Like
Oh, for
I
sure.
never look good on those contests, that's for
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Because you're just, yeah, but yeah, it's a interesting one. I haven't looked into. I know they keep adding more. They got the new bikini. What is it?
Fit,
Fitness
fit
Model.
Pro
model,
or Fit
fit
Model?
model. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they add another guys
I
or
know
not.
that's what
That'd
we were
be,
talking about. We're like, was there
yeah,
going to be like a thing for guys, a fit model for guys? Like,
yeah. And then,
like,
well, because physique is turning into just like classic guys with shorts on.
Yeah.
Like
yes,
that's all it
that's what it
is.
looks
They're
like.
so, their delts, everything's so full.
Yeah.
And now they want their shorts to be a little tighter, I guess,
Higher.
so that way they
So
show
you
it.
see the
You have to
quads.
have quads, like you
Yeah.
can't be like just twig
Yeah,
legged.
that's what they
But
mentioned about a year or maybe two ago, that you need to fill out the shorts almost symmetrically to your body
yeah, otherwise
size.
it's like you're getting
Yeah.
marked down. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
it's funny.
Yeah.
Well,
Men's physique, do they have a weight now? They
yeah,
do, right?
they made a weight limit, which I think mine would be like 230.
They
Oh,
should
So
do,
really?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, mine would be
230.
They should
230.
put a
So
weight cap on
yeah,
women's physique for height and weight.
they don't do that yet.
They don't do that. They
Really?
should.
Yeah,
That's why I'm like, I ain't competing. So
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because
bring it.
she's a IFBB pro for
nice
well, you got Zeke, right?
Physique and figure.
Yeah,
and
figure.
figure.
Yeah.
Would you want to go back to figure or go down to
I'm
figure? Or,
if I did, I'll probably do a master's figure because
yeah,
I don't want to put the size back on for
yeah,
physique
yeah.
in the direction that this sport is headed.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
way too huge and
Yeah,
unrealistic
yeah.
for a female body to be
It's
carrying
just
that
women's
weight.
bodybuilding at this
Hmm.
point. I feel like you look at them, it's like
Yeah.
it's crazy, and the amount of compounds they have to be taking. Which I've never talked to like a pro, women's physique competitor,
Yeah.
but it's like guaranteed you can't get like that without being on a lot of,
A little extra.
yeah, for sure. And it's just, I don't know. That's why it is an extreme sport. Like I have a buddy who he's a like a pipeline professional.
Yeah.
He's out there, and
Surfer.
I'm like, man, that's extreme to be. Like at any moment you could just fall and hit your head, and now you're in the
Hmm.
hospital.
Big wave
And
surfing.
he's like, well, your sport's extreme too. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a different type of extreme, for sure. But that's probably why
Hmm.
we love it. It's why it's addicting,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
push yourself to those limits. But and not a lot of people get it. That's for sure. Most people like think you're crazy,
You
for
are. You
doing
do
it.
have to be some kind of crazy to enjoy the process of bodybuilding,
Oh yeah,
getting
hundred
up on
percent,
stage.
100%.
I think
But
so.
yeah, yeah,
Something
absolutely.
wrong with you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How many years did you compete? Like,
Man, I mean, because it was a kind of on and off, right?
yeah,
I think the first one was 1988,
yeah,
and then my last show was 2014.
nice.
So,
Yeah,
there was breaks, obviously things going
yeah,
on, life, marriage, kids,
yeah,
all this stuff, but that through that window,
yeah.
88 to
To
14.
2014. That's
Yeah, it
awesome.
was pretty long time.
That's
I do
solid.
have a question for the both of you guys, since you did compete in a different era, Mark and you.
Yeah.
As far as blood work prior to doing cycles, after or post show,
Mm.
how frequent did you do it in your highlight? And then what about now as far as
Yeah.
yourself?
Never. No.
Yeah.
Well,
Out of sight,
I
out of
mean,
mind.
I did it because, I mean, probably like maybe once a year. I mean, when I was in the military, we would get blood work done. Just, you get your blood profiles done
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I would have to get it drawn, and it was usually once a year, or once every other year, something like that. But the funny thing is, I never had all my stuff was always good.
Mm.
Really?
Like I
That's
never
awesome.
had any like flags. I think they said sometimes like my liver values are a little bit high or
Yeah.
something,
Too
but
much
that
orals.
Minor.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
that could just be
That's
from so many
minor.
different things, right?
Yeah.
So,
For
but that was
sure.
it. I never had issues. So,
Yeah. That's good.
how about
Yeah.
you?
For me, I don't. When I first started, I didn't even want to test mine. I was like, I don't want to know, because I was just
Ah,
I was going all in. I was like,
yeah,
okay, like what do I got to do to? So I don't know. Now I try to do it every 3 to 6 months, even though they don't really change too much. Like, because I'm just on TRT now, and
yeah,
so, but that's one thing for me. I get a little paranoid, like little things are a little off, and I'm like, oh no, what's going on? Which I'm a little OCD about it, but overall,
yeah.
mine have been good. We were talking about that the other day with like kidney function and doing like the
Mm,
cystatin C instead of
yeah,
the because my EGFR sometimes will be like around 60, and I'm
that's like
like my
mine.
wife did hers and it was like 95,
Well, that
and
has
I'm
a lot
like,
to do with like your hydration level
yeah,
from that day or
Yep.
even day before, or even
yeah,
if you had a worked out
Uh-huh.
prior
yeah,
to getting your
yeah, because I
blood
train
drawn.
2 times. Like I don't train hard 2 times a day, but I do like main workout and then I'll go
Hmm.
film later. So I know I definitely train a lot. So like my CK levels will be a little elevated,
Hmm.
my liver enzymes just a little bit. I've always heard that liver enzymes, it's not bad unless it's like 200, 300, really, really high. But yeah, it's one that I always tell guys like pay attention to, but I don't know. It's hard because some of them you don't want to obsess and then make it worse because you're stressing about it but and it is your lifestyle. If you're eating high protein,
Yeah,
creatinine's probably gonna be a little high, or certain little things are gonna
probably.
be off. But yeah, it's hard though. I try to be on it because I know a lot of guys. I've heard guys having major health issues, and it's because they never really cared. They never looked at it, and that's a whole nother side to not be on for
But the
sure.
reason why I bring it up as well, I mean, with the amount of information that's on the internet, and we just talked about how these kids they see it
Yeah,
and they get their hands on some goodies
yeah,
without,
Uh,
performing any type of blood test, and next thing you know,
hmm.
years later, I mean, this is for life. Your damage is done,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, Mark, you were lucky that
I
you
got
got
pretty,
away with it.
I got
Yeah,
pretty good
You
genetics.
got
yeah,
good
I think so.
genetics.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
the
was,
food
yeah,
at that time, like how we talked about as well
yeah.
too, is
Right,
totally
higher
different
quality.
time.
From
The
the
quality of
80s and
food
90s, it was
is
better, I think,
different.
for sure.
Well, and
Yeah.
even supplements, I'm sure nowadays it's just the quality has gone down big time. So you don't even know some of the stuff you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
Some of these
Yeah, because
younger
there
guys
wasn't
not being
there
smart
wasn't
about
that
it.
many companies, back
Yeah,
then, and especially even in the 90s, like that's when a lot of companies started coming out. But even
yeah,
then, there wasn't a lot. I mean,
yeah,
and you kind of knew like, oh, these whatever couple companies, those were the ones.
yeah,
Like I remember
exactly.
Twin Lab was really big, and
Yeah,
British Dragon.
there was a few companies that were like they were the ones, and the
that was
quality
it.
was there though. It was good quality
Oh
because a
yeah,
lot of those companies were already vitamin companies from before,
yeah,
from like
exactly.
the 80s and stuff, and then they
Yeah,
just started getting into the bodybuilding stuff.
yeah, exactly.
So it was like good, the quality was there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
But yeah,
it's
it's
tough.
changed, man. It's changed now. I
I
mean,
mean, the good thing is there is all that information out there, and I like that guy Chase you're talking about, like guys like that, kind of pushing it to the extreme and showing. I mean, he had a kit, he showed like his full protocol on going
mhm.
from taking these crazy amounts of tests to
20,000 nanograms per deciliter
Yeah, it's
that he
crazy.
tested
of
at. Yeah.
tests, and I'm like,
Yeah, that
how did
guy.
you not get a heart attack? Or
Yeah,
I remember he went viral because he did some seminar and he brought up that how
yeah.
I don't
I
know
think
how
I
many.
saw that.
I think he was taking like 3 cc's a day
Yeah.
I
of
Didn't
saw
it
that. It's
tests.
wasn't his
crazy.
come out on the seminar? It's like, oh, my name's Chase Irons, blah blah, and I do steroids.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah,
everybody's like, wait,
Yeah,
what?
I remember
yeah.
I
Or I'm
saw this
addicted to
guy.
steroids or something
Yeah.
like that. It's like, what the heck? But yeah, he's real. He's sharp, and he definitely. I mean, I appreciate somebody that wants to go through the process of, hey, this does this, and this is what I
Yeah.
noticed, and
Transparency about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and showing all that. I'd like to do, especially with some of the GOPs. I feel like there's not a lot of information out there. There's a lot of negative, like, oh, you get on Ozempic or whatever, you're going to end up, Skeletor, because you're not going to eat any meat. And I'm like, I'm still hungry. Like, I have a crazy appetite. So maybe somebody that doesn't have a good appetite, and they take it, they're just never going to eat.
And there's
Where
different
for me,
types
I'm
of
still,
GOPs as well too. Like,
oh yeah,
from
GOP
the
2, 3. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
ones will curb more hunger, one will be a little bit more anabolic than
Yeah.
others and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, because the
technology.
SOU, that's supposed to be anabolic, right?
Yeah.
And helps with the appetite, which that's really interesting, which
SOUPP as well to upregulate your mitochondrial function as well. So of course
energy
you're
and
gonna be
yeah,
burning a lot more efficiently.
that's awesome. Yeah.
So A
Yeah,
lot of goodies out there.
I have a friend taking that right now, and the guy's got veins all through his abs. I'm like, man, he
Really?
looks nuts. And I mean, I don't know
Wow.
if it's just from that. He's kind of one of those guys. He's not even competing, but he's just so
So always in
locked in
shape.
on his
Mm.
diet and like just obsessed, which I appreciate that. I'm like, but if I'm not competing, I'm gonna go have a plate lunch, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna go have some pizza. I'm not like,
But maybe it
I
might
don't
be
know.
good for those days so that you
Yeah,
utilize, all of
yeah,
the
and then
nutrient partitioning a lot
yeah,
better.
100%. Because I don't, I have good genetics. I feel like for like maybe just having like fullness, even when I'm dieting, but not like to get the veins in the abs. I mean, I've got to go so hard. It
Hmm.
takes
Yeah.
the
I'm
extra. Got to go
I'm
the
with you.
extra mile. Yeah,
I'm
for
with you on
sure.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's which that's why I tell guys there's it's a double edged sword because if you're the one side, it's like yeah, you got to overdo it to gain muscle. You got to eat nonstop, which I don't know. Maybe I'd rather be on that side, but
Hmm.
I'll never know. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun though.
Because
I like seeing
when
all this
you
new stuff.
when you were competing and stuff, I mean, did you use a lot of gear? Or did you?
It was yeah, pretty. I mean, I think the most I did, like of course the buzzword, trend. I had a coach. He
Trent,
was having me do point 0.7 a day. Like that was
a
probably the
day.
most
Trent,
I
that's
ever
okay.
did
Wow,
of trend. And
that's a good
I
amount.
mean, I definitely got crazy hard, crazy dried out. But
Did
besides
you lose your mind?
oh, a little bit
Moody,
for sure. I
little
think
moody.
back and I'm like a lot of mood issues, anxiety. I got a lot of anxiety,
Yeah,
which
Trent's the
I
one that
think
would
it's
give you
It's
just
either Tren
anxiety.
or Halo testing that you guys go nuts
yeah,
on.
yeah. I remember being in the grocery store and just getting anxious for no
Like,
reason. I'm like,
yeah,
why do
it
I
would
feel
do that.
anxious just looking for rice right now? Like I'm literally just looking for some rice and I and I'm losing my
You're like
mind,
a tweaker.
Yeah, I'm
That's what
like
it is. Yeah.
well, and then what I noticed too once I stopped because I prepped for a couple of shows and cut the trend out. I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it at all.
And it changed.
And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can diet. Oh, I'm not stressed out. Like I'm not grabbing granola bars off the shelf and eating them in the middle of the store because there's a lot of erratic stuff like that I noticed on
Yeah,
trend because your
but
body is just it's just redlining. And so it's like a
how
rubber band.
much
It's going to snap the
much
other
do you
way.
think the trend helped though? Like, I mean, do you feel like when you got off of it,
I do look back and I'm like the
you weren't as
pictures where
good?
my chest just felt like it was going to touch my chin. I mean, that was those kind of pumps. I think that was on
Hmm.
trend for sure. Like that was, so that's why it's so hard to be like, hey, don't do it, like, cause I feel like a lot of guys will act like oh, you can get that with Primo or you can get that
Yeah,
with some of these other more moderate supplements, but I don't
it's
know
not
if
the
you
same.
can. I mean, I think, and I'm not, that's why I don't talk about it a ton because I don't want younger guys to be like, oh, I have to do that if I want
Yeah.
to look this way. But it's more, it's more like you said, the devil's in the dose, right? If you're overdoing it, that's when you can really, do damage
Hmm.
and,
You
you
think
know,
you think Trent is like how to say it, initially designed to do it lower doses, just nobody wants to do a low dose of it.
I think so.
I've
Cause
done low dose and
yeah,
been just fine and
yeah,
seen a lot from it. But if I
yeah,
start going to like 100 milligrams every other day or so, about
yeah.
3 weeks in, I'm fucking falling apart.
Oh yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
talking like maybe 200 a week. That's
I'm
it.
talking
Yeah.
$200 a
I'm
week.
talking
Even
like
six.
75 to
A
150
week.
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
Oh,
A
like
week.
that low.
Yeah, which
Okay.
I did that one summer. I just kind of wanted to experiment because I had another friend he calls it microdosing trend, like every
Yeah.
time you do a shot of test, just a little bit, just a smidge, and I
Okay.
did notice benefits. Like I definitely was harder, stronger, but I didn't get any of those weird sides. Like I was
Mm,
able to stay on my diet. I wasn't super moody.
I see.
I tease, I call it trend divorce in a bottle, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll literally take a shot and my wife will be like, you took some trend, didn't you? Because
Oh,
She can
wow.
tell.
really mad over, little, I told you that already, like those kind of
Getting
moments where,
anxious.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're just extra on edge, which I've never noticed that, just on tests or just on,
Hmm.
low doses of the other ones. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good to, like, I see these like the trend twins or some of these
Oh
other guys
gosh.
trying to like
Hmm.
promote it. And I'm like, man, it's not good because I feel like people that have bad genetics, they think, oh, I just have to do that and I'll look
Hmm.
like this guy or that guy. And it's like,
Yeah.
you've got to, you got to face the reality,
Yeah,
but
we've
you
had
can't.
episodes on that about
Yeah.
genetics and
Yeah.
how it doesn't matter how much gear and things you
Yeah.
use. Like, it's not like it's going to fix your genetics
Yeah. Yeah. You're
and all of
kind
a
of,
sudden you can be Mr. Olympia. Like, sorry, like,
yeah, it's just not how it
Or
works. But
even being responsible with the use of steroids, right? If you can't handle your hormones under the gear, don't fucking do it and take
yeah.
it out on other people. That's
Oh,
not
yeah.
cool.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a weird. I mean, I feel like people get weeded out pretty quick because they do realize, like, okay, my body's not responding this way or that way. But I see some guys, and I'm like, man, I almost want to tell them, don't put all your chickens into that basket because, it's not. It's definitely not for everyone. I mean, it's like, look at, I can't just force myself to look like LeBron James, or something. It's like I'm just wasn't born with those
Yeah.
Or
genetics.
even with
Yeah.
that, I
But
mean, you have a business of coaching.
yeah,
Like technically bodybuilding does not rightfully pay for your bills. Like you know
yeah,
how
yeah,
these um A-tier competitors, they can't just bodybuild all day and
yeah,
compete and they
yeah,
pay for its bills. I mean, a
exactly.
lot of these young guys, it even if you get your pro card, that doesn't mean the cash cow is waiting at your
Yeah,
door, dude. It
yeah.
doesn't happen like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. It's very, I don't know. It's sports like bodybuilding and some of these like smaller, it's really that top 1%. They're
Right.
making
Mm-hmm.
all the money,
All right.
like
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're just competing or something. So that's why I always tell guys, like, make it, try to find a way to, turn it into a business, whether you start
Mm-hmm.
a clothing
Yeah.
brand or you're coaching or training, in
Right.
person, those kind of things. And then, because I think that just adds more stress to trying to make it, whether it's turning pro or leveling up in those aspects. If you don't have some foundation on the
Mm-hmm.
other side, you're definitely going to crash and burn.
I made a point
Because
to somebody the other day about that, about having the genetics to do it, to bodybuild. And I said, there's a small percentage of people that can actually do it. And out of that, there's going to be 1% that actually make a living from it.
yeah,
Now, if you want to take this risk of taking all this stuff to permanently fuck yourself up for the rest of your life, then maybe you'll be in the 1%, which
yeah,
you won't. Like, is it really worth it at that point?
yeah,
And I said, also,
exactly.
most of the people that are that 1% look ridiculous before they even start the stuff
Yeah, yeah,
and can compete. Like, I mean, Ronnie
100%.
Coleman turned pro natural. Kai Green
Yeah,
turned pro natural.
yeah,
Keon turned pro natural.
yeah,
So, just
Yeah.
think when people think they can take all the stuff and grow and win contests, is like, that's not how it works. And if you're not in that top 1%, all you're getting ready to do is just get yourself on TRT and
yeah,
being under the guidance of a doctor for the rest of your life.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's always a good test. I remember looking back, like anytime you see somebody in an off season, it's almost like if they still look decent, like they have really good genetics, because a lot of
Yeah.
guys would come off and everything
Oh
would just
yeah.
go away and
Yeah.
they would look like they don't even lift, it's like, okay,
Well,
it's not,
Kevin LeBron was one of those guys.
yeah, he was a freak.
He was a guy that
He's
you
an
would never
anomaly.
think
Yeah, he's an
that he
anomaly.
would be a good bodybuilder.
You
Like,
can't compare anything to Kevin LeBron.
no,
They're
like he's like
well, he did it, so I can do
185.
it. You
Yeah.
He's
can't
like
do that.
185.
Yeah.
And then like literally 6 months from the show, he would step on stage at like
His
245.
triceps would quadruple in size, like because
He
he would
was
he
the
would go from having like small arms and all of a sudden,
dude.
and that
He
wasn't
was
just side
small.
injections, that was like just responsive
Like
body.
I'd see him
It's
in the
crazy.
magazines because this is magazine time, right? Back in the
Yeah.
90s. And yeah, they'd show him, Kevin LeBron. He had a rock band or something.
Yeah, yeah, I
And you'd
remember
see him
that.
and you're like, that's Kevin LeBron. And he was like, he's 185 right now. And you're like, what? And then literally 6 months later, he was on the stage at the
That's
Arnold or
nuts.
something. And you're like,
So crazy.
he was like 245, 250 on stage, like in shape. Like, how did that happen?
What do you think about? Because I've wondered that now over the last few years, and it's kind of depressing. But my buddy told me the other day, like, yeah, you haven't really changed much because I've
But
kind of
that's
just
good.
maintained. Yeah, I haven't gone
Yeah.
down, but
Right.
I've and I've definitely lost some muscle since I last competed because I was probably more like 250 at this level of body
Okay.
fat, where now I'm like 242 or something.
Okay.
But I guess my point is like being on just TRT dose, like maintaining, you think you don't get that hyper responsive response once you come on because like say like Kevin coming off completely and just
Mhm.
the receptors being completely fresh and then coming back on, he's almost getting like those noob gains, because his body is just like
He's
just
only trained like
fresh.
4 months out of the year, right?
Maybe, I think it was like 6
Or
months.
even
Yeah.
Six
even the
months.
training too, because I feel like I train so much consistently. It's like I don't even get sore.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'm
you
like
probably would benefit by
I'm just like
taking a little
taking
bit of
like a
time off.
break and just not
Yeah,
doing
like if
anything and
I
just
think you would benefit if you were to take a little bit of time off, and then if you were going to compete, right? Be like,
yeah.
okay,
Now I'm
then
gonna
get
ramp it up.
ready, and then yeah,
Boom.
get all your stuff going.
Yeah.
and get your eating going in. And I think but you probably see a response.
Yeah.
And regardless, I mean, because you're probably not training like you would for a show
Yeah.
right
I'm not
now.
training hard.
Or
I'm
like,
like,
I'm trying to get bigger right now. You're not doing that. You're just doing
yeah.
more maintenance.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's just kind of enough to like make sure everything doesn't disappear,
because I'm a
But
huge believer on the mental side of it too,
oh yeah, for
on
sure.
you visualizing your body, seeing what you want, how it's going to look.
Yeah.
And I think that you get gains from that.
Oh yeah.
And that's
for
why I
sure.
think when you're in that mode, your mindset's in that mode.
Yeah.
And then that's when you
All of a
grow,
sudden
you see,
everything
right?
is changing. Yeah. Because right now
Yeah.
it's more like we just stay in good enough shape to stay
Yeah.
marketable, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
and stay lean enough where people are, because that is the hard part with social media, because it's like you have to, if you don't stay in shape, people know, and then I follow this one kid. He's like, yeah, no one cares when you're bulking, or no one cares when you're
Yeah.
taking time off. They're kind of like, all right, who's actually going after it right now? Like that's who they want to follow or pay attention to. So that is the hard side of getting hooked into that. I feel like back in the day when you didn't have the social media pressure, it was
Yeah.
like, well, no one cares.
Oh
Like
yeah.
just
You would bulk up.
keep doing your things,
Oh
just
yeah,
bulk up and
guys would be so out of shape, bulked
yeah,
up, and
yeah,
then you wouldn't see them,
yeah. And
unless you
they
train
say
at their
covered
gym.
up, whatever.
Yeah, and
And
then all of a sudden they did a show, and you're like, you see them, and they did photo shoots in the magazines,
yeah,
and they put all that out there for
yeah.
that 1 month or
Yeah,
whatever, and then they
and
went
those
back
those
to
those pictures slowly come out too, where now it's
yeah,
like they want something every day. It's like, how are you looking
yeah,
today? Or how are you like it's definitely a different it's funny kind of talking about surfing. My buddy, same thing. It's like back in the day, they would get some crazy barrel shot, whatever, and that would be in a cover 3 months from now. But now it's
yeah,
just you post it on Instagram, it's there, and okay, you got to get something like that tomorrow. Like if you don't get
yeah,
it tomorrow, it's like
right.
they forget about you. It's not like you just get that one
And it
and so it's the same,
stays,
yeah, it's the
right?
same
It
thing.
stays, yeah.
It's like this,
Well, it's the
there's so
instant
much
gratification.
overconsumption. Yeah, they
It's
want
instant gratification
yeah,
nowadays,
for
right?
sure.
I mean, a lot of people this age don't know how it was to
Wait for
order from a
anything.
catalog.
Yeah.
Order from a
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, the
catalog
JC
Write it
Penney's
and
in,
then
catalog.
send in a
write it
little
in.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, or I used to call. I remember I would call the number and the credit card, but because that would make it faster, right? But
Yeah.
there was times where you would write in your
Mail
order,
in that,
put it, and
right?
just mail it in. They have to get it. They have to get it, and then they send it to you. So I mean, you're
How long
talking.
would it take?
I
Like,
mean, dude, I don't know. I feel like it would be 3 weeks, a month. You'd be
yeah,
waiting for stuff. Like
so funny.
you would forget
Yeah.
almost.
I remember seeing all those little cards in the magazines, right? Like that was
Yes,
the thing
and
you would
you'd
mail
mail it
in or
in.
whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I saw one of those.
Catalogs, man. Catalogs was the
Great.
thing. I would sit there and look at catalogs all day long. That was my internet,
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I would
You
browse.
scroll the
Dude,
internet.
I would memorize catalogs. Like I
It's
would
so
just
funny.
browse through it,
You're like
mark the stuff I
page
want.
G62. All right.
Like this is what I want.
So funny,
So
man.
it's interesting
I
how
think as
it's
far as Kevin Levrone, what he did, just
yeah.
completely go off like and fall off scale. Who else did that? There's a few in that era that would do that. Lee Priest used to do that. He used to
Yeah.
just get
Oh,
like
I remember how
fat as
fat you would
shit.
get. Yeah,
Well,
you
he
get like
claimed he never took stuff in the off
Yeah, so
season.
he was
yeah,
completely off. So there were guys that would do that, but those guys are freaking anomalies. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and to maintain to stay marketable,
yeah,
yeah, you kind of got to look the part.
yeah,
But with how it's been trending medically as well too, you are on TRT, you're technically never off. So that
Yeah.
when you
yeah,
do cycle, does it are your androgen receptors down regulated? There's no real test for that yet,
yeah,
but
yeah,
there's other things that can help upregulate your androgen receptors as well too.
yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
mean, it's still like a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
You could also
100%.
think in the opposite perspective where it's less just like, oh, I've been off. I don't have the gifts or genetics that will sustain me in my off season till it is season. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could have regressed in your body type as well
yeah,
too. So
yeah,
how we talked about earlier, you kind of got to do what fits your body type with your training
yeah.
gear on and
Yeah.
off season.
Mental health too. I think it's
Mental
hard.
health
It's
is
hard for me
important.
to like mentally. Like I kind of fell off the first 2 years we were here. I just kind of went back to like, oh, I'm in college again. I'm just on the
Vacation
North
mode.
Shore. I'm just gonna drink Mai Tais and hang out
hmm
and I gained like I remember seeing some pictures of my wife. I'm like, man, what the heck? Like, and for me, it's like for my standard, being a pro, it's like you see yourself like that, you're like, what the heck? And
You
I don't
gain some
you
fat.
almost start to think like, can I come back from this?
Mm.
Like I just got that, I got really soft. And I mean, it is always awesome to have a cool transformation after having a couple of those pictures. People are like, what the heck? And I'm like, yeah, just, I wasn't locked in, you get locked in on the diet and the training. And then, boom, you can make some solid
Yeah.
progress. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, I always tell everyone it's kind of the same thing with like running a marathon. Like you're not just going to wake up and start training for a marathon. Like, but you will do that if you put your mind to a contest. You're going to diet harder. You're going to train harder, do all
Mhm.
those things, and actually see where you can take your body. So I think that's the beauty of competing. Is seeing those extra levels you can
Oh
get
yeah,
to. But
pushing yourself to that.
do you ever miss it? Like, do you think about it or no? Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I had fun. Like, I really had fun at the show, competing,
yeah,
posing. I
yeah,
really enjoyed that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, the diet, like you said, the diet part was
yeah,
definitely a struggle for me
yeah,
towards the end.
for sure.
And I don't, yeah, I don't really miss how I felt,
Yeah,
and
100%.
sometimes my moods. So
Yeah,
I don't miss that, but I
absolutely.
mean, I don't know. I don't have a strong desire to actually compete again. I don't.
Yeah. You
I,
don't really
I
see how
still work
you wouldn't really
out.
benefit from it, right? Or you don't really
Yeah, I
think
don't
it's
know if
gonna,
it's something that I just would want to like, because I know how hard it's going to be, right? I'm still,
yeah,
even if I look pretty good right now and stuff, but I know how hard I need to get down.
to
Like
get, yeah,
I need to really come down and just come in shape. And
yeah.
I know it's going to be tough. Like it's not going to be, it's always going to be hard no matter
Oh,
what.
yeah, for
So
sure.
I'm like,
For
do I really
sure.
want to do that to
Yeah,
myself?
yeah,
I don't mind looking good in shape.
yeah,
I can do that.
yeah,
But to
exactly.
get stage
To
ready, I'm like,
that
oh, do
next
I
level.
wanna?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a lot for me. So I
So
don't
that
know.
would also compromise your jujitsu time as well too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Yeah, well, there you go.
yeah.
And I think that's the
And you're
good
more
thing.
fragile, your joints and all
Oh yeah,
that.
no, I don't want
Yeah,
to get injured.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think the good thing that I started jiu-jitsu, and that was part of it, was to keep me occupied on something else because
Yeah,
I needed something else.
yeah,
And the bodybuilding for me, it ran its course for me in my life.
yeah,
I
yeah,
still lift, right? I still train and all
yeah.
that, but I don't compete. And I feel like,
Do you
yeah.
ever compete in jujitsu? You do tournaments
I mean, I
ever?
did it when I was a white belt. I just did
Yeah.
like one just to play around with
What are
it.
you? What are you now?
I'm just a blue.
Blue. Nice.
But I've been training for like 7 years.
Yeah.
I should be a purple, but I got injured. Like honestly, in the 7 years I've been training, 2 years I've been injured. I was out, not
Okay. Yeah.
straight, but
Yeah. Yeah.
throughout 7 years,
Yeah.
2 of those years I was out from being
Okay.
injured. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really, technically, 5 years on the mat,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is right about purple belt
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm hoping this year I should be getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm at.
it's you got
Yeah.
to stay consistent with it.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's like in bodybuilding stuff. I mean,
Yeah. If you're not on it.
I gotta keep going every week, three, four
Yeah.
days a week, and
For sure.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I.
So
I have a couple buddies I wrestle with that are big into it now, and I'm at this crossroads where they're like, "Oh man, you should
you
totally
want to
get
do it?
into it.
Yeah.
You'd get obsessed with it, and you'd
Well,
be
I
all
think you'd be
about it."
good,
But it,
man,
yeah,
with the wrestling.
with the
yeah,
wrestling background,
yeah.
definitely.
It's
You'd be
just tough
good.
because it's like there's still that itch to compete again. So I'm like, okay, do I start? Maybe I'll just start getting into it and see if you know,
But you
if
can
I'd
compete
rather
in
just
jujitsu
compete,
Yeah.
though,
yeah,
and
compete in
that
that
might be
and
the
kind of
competitive
scratch
edge
that
that you might
itch.
like.
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, I didn't start jiu-jitsu till I was 49. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so I mean, you could like
yeah,
literally
yeah,
do a couple more shows, maybe compete for another 2, 3 years,
yeah,
and
and
then get
then
into
get more into
jiu-jitsu.
it. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, probably in your early 40s.
I'm
I
worried
mean,
about popping a bicep or something. That's for sure.
what,
I
jujitsu?
yeah, I have a buddy who, yeah, he
Well,
just tore his bicep. I'm like, oh man,
yeah,
that's
because
that's a scary one.
he's
You
not
just
doing it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And he was
well,
like,
you know what it
he was
is?
trying to like
Bodybuilders,
slow fight it,
no,
like
bodybuilders have a bad habit when they go in, and even
trying to
I did it.
muscle it.
You're muscling a lot of stuff, you don't realize it.
Yeah.
And even wrestling probably a little bit.
Yeah, because you're
There's
used to just
muscling
like, okay,
of muscling in
I'm just gonna
wrestling.
bear hug you to death. Like, okay.
Jiu-jitsu is not like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to be a little smarter than
it's more
that.
for the small guy, and he uses leverage
Technique
and
and
his
leverage.
body
Yeah,
to
where he's
do it.
putting his body to
Yeah,
control you.
because if
Yeah,
somebody has you in an armbar and he's 150 pounds and he's
he's
pulling
still
on
gonna
you,
get you.
and you're
Yeah,
gonna be like, I'm gonna rip. Yeah, you're
yeah,
gonna rip your arm.
yeah.
I
Or
mean,
I'm gonna chest
you might
fly
be able
your
to
whole
lift
body.
them,
Yeah,
but you're probably gonna pop that bicep. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's the
It's not
whole
worth it.
body against your arm.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
but yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I think you would like it.
yeah,
It just takes for me, it took a while for me to start to understand. Oh, it's not about strength and
yeah.
squeezing and
It's
like
more
what I did in
technique.
here.
Yeah, yeah,
It's more technique,
yeah.
using your body, using your
Exactly.
leverage.
Yeah,
It took me a while actually to
yeah,
get that.
yeah,
I
for
think it was
sure.
hard for me, but
Yeah, because the testosterone's ramped up, the adrenaline. You just wanna,
well, you're used
fight
to
it. Yeah,
just push it, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
go, the
Yeah,
power, and you can get through your
yeah,
sets.
for sure. You almost
Can't do
have to
that on the
hold that.
mat.
Yeah, I need to do that. The last couple of times I've gone, I mean, because I don't know if every gym is like this, but the first 30 minutes or so is just like kind of practicing some stuff, and then the
Yes.
last 30 or so is
Just
Open,
you know
rolling.
2 minute
open mat.
rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would literally do like 4 of those rounds and felt like I was gonna
Yeah.
die. Like I literally was like can't breathe. Like I had to like
Yeah. Well,
walk outside because I'm
you're not
probably
used to it.
trying. Yeah, and I'm fighting it like
A
you
different
said
type of
too.
You're
exercise
fighting
too,
it.
like the
Yeah,
muscle conditioning for jujitsu versus
for sure.
bodybuilding.
And the guys, they always have a fun time because they're like, "Oh, another who's this big guy?" You know,
Well, because they
and for
know
them, it's like
already.
a cocky, yeah.
They
They're
know
just like, "Oh,
already.
this meathead." Like I'm just gonna freaking,
Well,
I'll
this
let him
is
take me down, but
this
I'm
is
gonna
their
like,
chance to
yeah,
be like, oh, I don't care how big you are in the gym. You look good.
yeah,
I can beat you on the
yeah,
mat,
exactly,
And
exactly.
a lot of guys will do that.
Yeah,
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 they
which
will.
it's fun. Yeah, my one buddy's hooked and he's depressed because he's been doing it for almost 3 years. He's still a white belt. His
Oh,
because
okay.
his gym, they're very like, and he has a wrestling background, so it's kind of rare.
Wow,
I
they're
feel like
really strict.
they're just being
Yeah.
super. You can tell they're almost like testing him. Like, all right, are you gonna
Well,
break? Are you gonna be like, are you gonna complain? Like or
maybe
whatever?
he's. I mean, part of it is a lot of times the coaches that you're with, they want to see you doing certain things, and if you're not doing it,
Leaving more of the
say,
wrestling
well,
behind,
say
or
you're,
like,
yeah, say he's
yeah,
just using that wrestling all the time, and the
yeah,
coach is like, yeah, I'm
you're-
showing him these jujitsu moves, but he keeps going back to his wrestling,
yeah, yeah.
and he's like, I want to see you do these jujitsu
Jiu-jitsu
moves.
moves, yeah,
Sure,
and
you
think
can
more
beat these guys.
jujitsu, yeah, because he's beating a lot
Yes,
of guys that are
you can beat
blue,
upper belt
brown,
guys, but
yeah,
the coach doesn't care about if you
yeah,
can beat them. It's
yeah,
about, are you using the jujitsu?
yeah,
Because once you start going up to higher level guys,
yeah.
you're going to lose.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for
because
sure.
their jiu-jitsu is so much better.
Yeah,
So you
for sure.
have to get good at
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu.
100%.
And so that's probably what's happening with
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
He
yeah. It
needs to
could
like
be.
leave some of that wrestling, man, and do the jiu-jitsu
Yeah, yeah,
more.
100. It's funny though. He'll call me and tell, "Yeah, we have promotions, and I didn't
He
get it
didn't
again."
get
And I'm like,
it. It's 3 years
and,
though. That's
yeah,
kind of long, actually. Most
yeah.
people get it within 2 years, they get a blue
Yeah,
belt.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's good. Like I'll go to his gym and he's like, dude, he's beating some good guys and like dominating, and he's done a couple of tournaments. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I think his coach is almost like testing him,
Just
because
seeing.
just kind of seeing like, all
Yeah.
right, like
It's all right
how
though.
bad do you? Yeah,
It's all right
and I'm like,
though.
it doesn't really matter. Like
It
he does
doesn't.
no gi 90% of the time anyway, so it's like you
Yeah.
can't even see who's what. You're just which
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I
kind of why
get
I
it
like no
though.
gi. You're like,
I
I'd rather
understand
be a
it.
white belt that can go toe to toe with any
Yeah,
blue or purple,
right.
or
yeah,
even give brown some hard rub.
yeah, yeah,
And say,
for
hey, I'm
sure.
just a white belt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
shitty.
Well,
I'm a
they
white
would
belt.
yeah,
if
yeah,
you're a white belt and
exactly.
you were giving Browns a hard time, they'd be like, nah, something's up. Even purples, like they'd
Yeah.
be like, nah, yeah.
It's kind of the equivalent of that guy, the Anatoly or whatever, who's walking and he's all
Yeah.
skinny and he's
Yeah.
just like lifting like 4
Oh
plates. You're like, what
yeah.
the
Yeah.
heck?
He
Like
comes
like
and
Yeah.
cleans and
yeah,
then
it comes and
yeah.
cleans it. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
a coach
equivalent.
wouldn't allow, like a lot of coaches, if they saw that, they would probably promote you because they would be like, yeah, no, they're not gonna.
It's
You're
almost like
beating purple belts as a white belt, and
yeah,
no, and then they see
yeah,
what you know what you're doing, they're gonna promote you probably.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
they're not gonna let you stay there. I mean,
Yeah,
it took me about 2.5 years to get blue. I think it
blue.
was
Yeah, yeah.
almost three. I think
But you didn't
so.
wrestle or anything. That
I mean,
was
I
just
wrestled in high school, dude.
yeah,
So
yeah.
think about it. I
Really.
started when I was 49. Last
Okay.
time I wrestled, I was 18. So
Yeah, yeah. It's
does
like
that even
you're
count?
trying to
I mean, a
relearn.
little bit. I have
Yeah.
some mat awareness and stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not that much.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
exactly.
49, dude.
Yeah,
So
for sure. It is a whole different thing. It's funny going from years and years of bodybuilding and just only training that way to then getting back into that. I'm like, I like it because it's a whole different level of cardio. Like
it
the
is.
amount how your heart rate gets up. But I like you said the other day to me, just kind of pacing yourself because you definitely have to learn energy conservation because if you're overdoing it, you'll burn yourself out
Oh yeah.
instantly. Like
And
in
that
2
doesn't
minutes.
matter. The littlest guy will tap you
Oh, yeah,
out
exactly.
'cause
You'll be giving them your back
you're
just
like,
because you
here,
want to get
take
out
it.
of there.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're like, I just
exactly.
want to get out of here.
Just take it. Take
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
Or even
Yeah.
with surf. Do you still surf?
Yeah, so that surfing's like, I mean, it's funny because when I was in college, I was obsessed with surfing. But I was always bigger, like even before I got serious in bodybuilding. So I was always my friends would always tease me, because it looked like I'm on like a boogie board,
Right.
like stand up and stuff. Because I like the short board. But and whenever I'm out here, I try to surf at least a couple times a week, but I do notice I'll lose size,
Right.
like because
That
I'm
was
out
about
there
to
for
say
a
the
couple hours, and I'm like,
conditioning.
I'll come in, I'm like, man, I almost feel like smaller because it's just so much cardio,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
swimming and swimming, and so I don't know that getting into jujitsu would definitely be better for my surfing,
Yeah.
versus like
Yes.
trying to
Absolutely.
prep again. But yeah, it's the dark sport guys, I think they want me to get into maybe doing some like toe in stuff by next
Oh,
winter, like getting on
nice.
the jet
Really?
skis and stuff. So I definitely want to be in, better shape that way
Wait,
too.
what's the
Kind
biggest
of
wave
be
you surf?
probably like I'll go out when it's like a few feet overhead, but nothing like
Yeah.
pipe, like big
Okay.
pipe
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was younger, I would go and just usually just get wrecked.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's yeah, I cracked my head open
Oh shit.
at a spot right by pipe.
Yeah.
Just
For the reefs
but
right
it was on like
there.
a
Yeah.
small day too, just freaking face right onto
Hmm.
the reef. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Pipes. Yeah.
yeah,
It's different out there.
it's a whole beast. I had a buddy last night. He surfed Sunset, and he had already broken his femur at
Oh.
Sunset. And last night he
Damn.
2 vertebrae in his neck,
What?
fractured him. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and it was sad because the lifeguards they brought him in, but they thought he was fine. So he got in his car and drove home
No
with
way.
Oh shit.
with the busted vertebrae. I mean, he
Lucky
could
he
have
didn't
died.
paralyze himself. Yeah. Or
He
die.
could have
Yeah.
paralyzed himself for
Yeah. You
sure.
paralyze
But
or
it
die.
sounds like he was just driving home like feeling all
Like, what's
wobbly,
going
like
on?
jacked up, and
He went to the
luckily went,
hospital.
yeah, which that's the rough part of the North Shore. Having, there's only Kahuku Hospital, I mean,
Right.
that's it, close by.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah, it's
wild.
those guys are. I've got a lot of respect for those guys because they go hard, and
Yeah.
and most of the time you're fine because it's water. But then that one time where I don't know, you land wrong or whatever. I mean, it can
Yeah.
be real
But at that
dangerous.
speed, the impact on that water
Oh yeah, it's like
is
hitting
concrete,
cement.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So
Mhm.
that's always been a big passion of mine. So that's why I love the fact that Dark's where they're doing the Ohana, the surf stuff, because it's kind of like all the things I'm into. Like they got
Yeah.
the
Everything.
MMA side. I'm
That's
like,
great, man.
it's solid. It'll be real fun. So yeah, hopefully, I think Tonawai is going to do some stuff with us too. So I
Oh,
think
okay. Oh,
that'd
good.
be fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's kind
Tunnelwise.
of I mean, everybody knows that guy. He's so connected. I mean, and we go around and train with all these different guys, so it just makes sense for us to all do something together.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it'll be
Great.
good. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
thanks for
man.
having me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
man.
fun. It's too easy to sit here and chat with you
I
guys.
know.
So
Well, yeah, well, that's why. Well, that's why I wanted you to come on, man. And
yeah, for sure.
and I don't, I don't even know if a lot of people know that you live out here. You're kind of hidden
Yeah,
out there on the North
yeah,
Shore.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
We peek
I
in.
know you got a pretty good following on
Yeah,
social media and stuff like that.
yeah,
So
for sure.
that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's paid off. It took me a long time. That's why I always tell guys, like you were saying about, you got to be patient and just keep grinding. I mean, it's kind of like anything. So,
Yeah,
but
that is.
that's the goal. But yeah, thanks for having me
Maybe
on,
we'll
brother.
see you on a
Yeah,
stage, man.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Let's
maybe,
see.
Stage
Let's
or doing
see.
some
or
toe
bring you
in.
out
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
mats.
Yeah,
Bring
one
you
of
on
the
the
two.
mats.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So,
Well, thanks for having
all
me,
right, no
guys.
Thanks for
problem.
Yeah,
coming through.
yeah, for
All right,
sure.
guys, that's another episode of Paradise Pump, and we'll see you guys next time. Aloha.